Space in the Place with Leslie Gray Streeter. So, what is going on? How are you? Welcome to the pod.
I am good. I'm so excited to be here. I am living through it was a snow day, but a fake snow day
Yeah.
because it didn't really snow that much. But
No,
the
thank God.
child was home, and so we had to coexist together while he was learning online.
Right. Virtual
So
learning.
virtual learning, it all worked out. It's better than it was during COVID, where they were there the whole year, and he was
Mhm.
falling asleep on the couch, and they would text me and go, "Is he there?" I'm like, "I don't know," because
I
he was
don't know.
downstairs. But he passed first grade, so now he's in sixth grade. So I guess that worked.
Oh, well, oh, middle school. I remember those stages.
Ooh.
All the hormones.
It's a lot. Literally, the first day he went to school, when he went to school, the first day of first grade, I'm sorry, sixth grade, his voicemail was, "Sorry, I can't get to the phone." And literally on the way home, he changed to, "Yo, can't answer the phone." I'm like, and
Ah,
here we are.
and here we go, being a boy.
Being a boy, being all like, now he's like, "Well, you don't have to like walk me in." That happened overnight.
I
I'm
know. It's
I'm
the
very embarrassing, apparently. It's okay.
Yes, it's okay. I can't wait. It's so funny. I was talking to my fiance last night and he said, "You just did like a mom thing." Cause I was like, "Yeah, totally cool." And he was like, "You're not even a mom and you're already being embarrassing." I said, "The funny thing is, our kids are gonna be more embarrassed by you than me
There you
because
go.
it already is happening with his younger frat brothers." And they're like, "Oh no, you're different. You're cool. Dwayne, no." And I'm like, "See, I am cool. You are not."
Right? You are cool. Look at you.
So let me tell the folks about you. Leslie Gray Streeter is a columnist, author, international speaker, widow, single mom, very slow run walker, bad guitarist who sings loud over the chords she can't reach, and a woman who named her son Brooks Robinson because they are really, really, really from Baltimore.
Yep.
She's been doing this, writing about her opinions and the things that make us human for nearly 30 years. She started at Baltimore City College High School in the 80s, where when she met her first newspaper columnist and thought, wait, they'll pay you to write about your opinion, and has essentially never looked back. From the University of Maryland, go Terps, if you didn't know this on the podcast,
Peter Turtle. Yep.
to the East Coast and back again. She has written for the Miami Times, the York Dispatch, the Palm Beach Post, the Washington Post, the Oprah Magazine, where she wrote about grief. And she even recapped the Bachelorette Weekly for those Seattle Times, which tells you everything you need to know about her range. She is now the lifestyle columnist for the Baltimore Banner, which she describes as a perfect circle with a lot of Janet Jackson in the emotional montage. She is the author of the memoir Black Widow, an unflinching and deeply moving account of losing her husband, and now she has given us Family and Other Calamities, her debut novel, which is funny, sharp, tender, and chaotic in all the right ways. Again, welcome to
Yes. Thank
the
you so.
okay.
That was great. That was really fun. And that's almost everything. And actually, I have another one coming out in the fall, but we'll talk about that. Which
We'll
I'm
talk about
literally,
that. Hmm.
when I get off the phone with you, I have to finish the last pass of developmental edits on that. So
I love that. Oh my gosh, congratulations. Okay, so we're both Terps and we're both from Baltimore.
yes,
What's your favorite Terp spot? And it doesn't have to exist currently.
it.
And what is your favorite Baltimore spot?
My favorite Terp spot was Marathon Deli, which is no longer there.
No, and I remember because we still had it and it's gone.
It's gone. And there was a Chinese spot. I cannot remember the name of it. It was in that same strip. Um,
Oh,
there
yeah,
was around the corner from the 7-Eleven.
well, now we got so many.
Oh boy. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's because I
there's
mean,
3 on the block now.
I graduated in 93. So you were born what year?
91.
Yeah.
A
So
lot
you
of
were,
it hasn't changed, when I was there, it didn't change, and then
it
all the
was,
kids got the new fancy, well, we don't shop at Target anymore, but they got the Target, and then they got
yes.
the Nando's, so Ratsy's was gone, and then I had oh, yeah, because my friend's parents met at Ratsy's, and so, yes, I've had so many drunken nights at that Undercooked Pizza, and I can't believe I
Ugh. Oh,
yeah.
Ratsy's was terrible,
It
but
was
it was there.
terrible.
It was what
It
it
was there.
was.
It was
And
what it was.
and there was, well, you do not, the VU, the Rendezvous Inn, the VU was on the
Yes.
corner. It was like the place. And I think I went to the VU once.
Okay.
because it was gross and I didn't want to go there. And there was a place called the what was the place? It was on the other side. It was near Ratsy's. Anyway, I
Oh,
went.
they changed that spot all the time. Now it's Turp and Turf, but before
Okay.
that was Santa Fe, and then it was like
Yes. Santa
yes.
Fe. It was Santa Fe when I was there. Okay, so this is the funniest story. So my sister and I are twins.
You see, guys, how like the Turp life doesn't
The
change. It
Turk,
just
like
started
so
changing.
Santa Fe Cafe. So my sister and I were twins, and she did not have her driver's license yet. She went to St. Mary's County in Southern Maryland, so she came
Oh,
to visit. We brought our birth certificate with us, and I had my license, and we talked the bouncer into letting her in because I was like, "We're clearly twins." And I am baby A on this birth certificate, and she is baby B.
oh.
And he let us in, and the next time he's like, my manager said I couldn't let you in again. We're like, fine, whatever. Did it work once? Santa
It
Fe
worked
Cafe. That's
once.
hilarious.
I got in on my roommate's ID, and it was surely we were not the same race. So she was Filipino, light
No.
Filipino, and I'm sitting here like we do not look the same, but it worked. So shout out to my girl. Shout out to my girl. Okay, favorite Baltimore spot.
Fair Baltimore. So I have so many. I there's a place not far from me called why am I blanking on the name? That's I'm in Butcher's well near Butcher's Hill. Why
Oh,
am I
okay.
blanking on the name? Okay, I will because my brain is menopause. Don't do it. I will say um I like a lot of places in Fells Point.
Mhm.
I
I
like
can tell.
my brain. Gosh. What's the why am I forgetting? Okay, I love the Sagamore Pendry Hotel. What used to be Sagamore Pendry,
Oh,
not just the Pendry, which
yes.
in the 90s was the set of Homicide, Life on the Street.
Yes.
And that's one of my favorite spots. I love going there, whether to
Mhm.
stay, it's expensive, but
Mhm.
I like it. I also really love shout out to Fancy Black Things, the Ivy Hotel.
I love the Ivy. I have a standing massage appointment at the spa
It's
every month.
amazing.
It's
Magdalena
amazing.
is an amazing restaurant. I
Mhm.
stay there. I like to stay for my birthday because it's expensive, but I like to get a
It is.
suite, you
Mhm.
know. And I will say, shout out, it's expensive, but also it includes everything when you stay
Yeah,
there.
it does, like valet, like, you could like, they have a driver that c will take you in, like, a
Yes,
certain amount of
there's
radius. Don't you have high
the
tea?
bar, rest the high tea breakfast.
Yeah,
There's like an open bar. All of the tips are included, so it honestly works out to
that's why
be
everybody's happy there, and I see the same drivers every single time I pull that car up, and valet is free.
right. And valet is free. So if
Valet
you
is
go to the
free.
Four Seasons or you go to someplace else, it runs up
Yes, it
pretty much
does.
the same. So yeah, that's my favorite spot.
Yeah, I do love the Ivy. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous
And
hotel. It really is.
Marta, that is the place in Butchers
Oh,
Hill.
I
Marta.
love Marta.
Oh,
Oh
it's
my
my
gosh, they have, like,
favorite
that
brunch spot.
crudo. Yeah, that crudo on the menu was really good.
It's so great, and
Yeah, it
it's
is
very
good.
chill. It years
Mhm.
ago, I like 20 years ago, it was a place called Salt, and I was running the half marathon. I was living in Florida, running the half
Mhm.
marathon up the hill, and I was like, "That place looks cool." And I came back, it was closed, but now it's a new place, and
Yeah, I
it's
really
Marta.
like
So it's
it.
like
It's really cool.
it's really cool.
I think it's named after his wife or the grandmother, somebody in his family.
Yes, I think
It's
so.
the
It's
reason of the name
very
or
cool.
something.
It's
Yeah, I
just
really like it.
and it just feels good. It's kind of place that you go and you don't. It's like Europe. You don't feel rushed. You don't feel like you have
Yeah,
to leave for the next table. You can just
yeah,
take your time, and it's very cool.
yeah, and if people like solo dates, it's a great solo date place. I love
Yes,
going to
I've
my
done that.
house. Yes,
I've
I
done
do it
that.
all the time. I'm like, "Ooh, sometimes, if the man ain't here, I'm going to leave. Go sit at the bar by
Sit at
myself."
the bar, just be around people.
Yeah, just be around people, but not having to be around people.
Not having to be
If you
or
get my
having to
drift.
interact with them.
Yes, yes, me and my Kindle. Um, so before we get in the book, you wrote a memoir about grief, which I think is
Mhm.
deeply connected to family and other
It
calamities.
is.
Black Widow, and now a novel you wrote about a journalist going home to Baltimore to blow things up.
Blow things up.
Similar through lines within the book and your memoir. Can
Mhm.
you chat about the intention of making Dawn a widower?
It's so funny. I this was my first fiction. I've been, a
Hmm.
journalist all my life, and then writing a memoir, which just felt like a really, really long column. And so when I decided to go fiction, I was like, I'm gonna go off some of what I know,
Hmm.
widowhood, Baltimore, journalism, and then it takes a completely different turn,
Yeah.
But it felt intentional to me to make her real. The book that I am finishing that comes out in October, which I'll tell you about later, um, has no widowhood. There is some griefiness because I
Hmm.
that's a place that I feel pretty comfortable in. But I needed to start off my journey with fiction
Hmm.
by starting at least in a place that felt familiar, and that
Yeah,
was that.
I like that. For listeners who haven't read it yet, how would you describe this book to someone like in a grocery store line?
Families or Black Widow?
Families.
Okay. Okay, it's about a journalist who comes back to town to bury her husband's ashes and finds out that a long lost friend who stole a story from her 30 years ago is making it into a movie, and she's the villain. Bah, bah, bah. Yes. The bum 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 is very important, but yeah,
Yes, the
that's what it's
papa
about.
is very important. So the dedication is to Ida B. Wells. Shout out to the GOAT, the truth, the original truth teller.
The original.
All truth tellers that come after that statement before the story even starts. What did you want the reader to feel right when they're in it?
I wanted people to understand this was a love story about a lot of things, but it was a love story to journalism.
Mhm.
Dawn, like myself, is a person who fell in love with journalism
Mhm.
very early and understanding that it was about truth, that it was
Yeah.
about the uncomfortableness of truth, particularly the people that are not telling the truth. They're
Yeah.
very allergic to it. And so
Mhm.
someone like Ida B. Wells made it was dangerous to tell the truth
It
with who
was.
she was. It was dangerous to be out there digging these things up and telling these stories. And so it's not quite the same in my story, but I wanted to make the stakes, people to understand what the stakes is, particularly right now, if I can be honest.
Yeah.
Journalism's not a safe place. There are people in this country who are targeting us, who are arresting us, who are all of these things. I could not have understood that, when I started this book, started writing this book a couple years ago, that this is where we would be. The
Me.
landscape into which it came was not only very different from when it started, just in a couple of years, but now it's even more more perilous. And so I want people to understand that the people who are out there risking their lives to tell you the truth are not just there to mess your day up. They're not just there to make things difficult for you. They're there because they want you to see an unvarnished um, explanation of what is happening to you. And so I feel like my life is possible because of people like Ida B. Wells. And I feel like the people that I mentor, I hope in some very small way, um, I am making possible what they see and what they can be. So that's what that's about.
No, I really love that. I really
Thank
do.
you.
So it felt so the movie that came to me when Dawn got home with her sister
Yes.
and all this happening and nobody's really telling Dawn anything. It's Soul
Yeah.
Food.
Okay. Can I say? And so the anniversary of Soul Food was no, Waiting as Hell was last year. I think Soul Food is this year or the next year. There is a sort of like soul food renaissance where people have said, "Do you understand that Terry
Was not the villain.
was not the villain?"
That's what
And
it felt like. Like Dawn was Terry.
Dawn was Terry, and that automatically Terry's money. Can I curse on this
Mhm.
podcast?
Yes, you can.
The family fucked my
Yes,
husband.
listen.
Thank you.
Yep, yep. That
And
is my line every day. Be like, every time I be fighting, I be like, F the family, fuck the family. I let family in my house, and family fuck my cousin. That's right. Facebook fuck my
family
husband.
fucked
And
my
then
husband.
Vivica, Miles.
Ugh. You know what?
It's like, Vivica, you ain't no better either. You took her
Took
boyfriend.
her
I
boyfriend.
was like, Terry
Nobody
can't catch a break.
respected Terry in that family. And Big Mama knew the money was always there. They was in the house and letting Terry go broke. I mean, everything about it was gross. And so I look back
Dude,
at it now, and Terry was like, yeah. Did Terry
their
like
mom was
Dawn?
definitely like Big Mama.
Yeah. Oof.
Mm.
Does
Love
Terry
her.
like Dawn have her own issues? Is she kind of a snob? Sure. Does she kind of separate herself in many ways from her family? Sure. Is
Mm-hmm.
there a version of the truth that's played in her head that is not other people's? Yes. Has
Yeah.
she been wronged? Oh, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's a little more complicated. But yeah, literally straight up, Vivica stole her boyfriend, now has the family she never had,
Yep.
that she never got to have,
Ooh. Come on now.
you know, married, stupid Miles. Anyway,
My is
and
crazy.
stupid
Can't
cousin
believe
Faith
I'm
in her
going there.
wig, and her bandana all dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I saw that in the theater. I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't. Oh, dag nabbit. But yeah, it's very much, and I think cinematically. So I very much. I don't know if I purposely thought of Terry, but that makes so much sense. That makes so
Literally,
much
as I
sense.
was reading it, I was like, what in the soul food? That's what it felt like. That's what it felt like. So that's definitely what I was feeling.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious and not inaccurate. Not inaccurate.
Hey, so you've described your column as being about discussions we don't usually have.
Yes.
Uh, Dawn, we see you is a journalist. It's not
Yes.
you, but it's like
Yeah.
meta.
She out there,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. How much of Dawn's stubbornness about truth telling is
Is me.
autobiographical?
I think a lot of it. And I think,
Okay.
like Dawn, I started out saying I wanted to, like, topple presidencies and do all this stuff, and then I sort of settled into a more features thing. Now my column is like it's featuresy, it's also newsy, it's a lot of things. It's
Mhm.
very
Yes.
Baltimore. I mean, we've taken a much more Baltimore turn with it. But I think,
Which I appreciate. Thank you.
thank you. I truly believe that Dawn wants to tell the truth, and I want to tell the truth. I'll just say this as a black woman who grew up in Baltimore.
Hmm.
There were not any black female columnists at the Baltimore Sun. There was one black columnist, Gregory Kane. Shout out to Mr. Kane, the late Gregory Kane. I went to high school with his daughter. Um, and when I came back, the idea of being able to talk about things that are relevant to everybody, but from
Hmm.
my perspective, was very true, because it's like when you have columnists, you go, whose truth is it? Whose truth?
Yeah.
And I think truth is, yet, did this happen? Did this not? That's truth.
Hmm.
Also, the way that I see things, from my perspective at my age, being a woman, being raised here, being raised in city schools, having very much of an open-mindedness to things, but understanding that that open-mindedness was built on the backs of people who did not have the same privileges that I had, and that people, Ida B. Wells et al., went forward so I could, do things. They always say so and so walk so you could run,
Yeah.
and
I
and
do
I
believe that.
I believe that, and I believe that part of what I'm supposed to do. I don't believe in like over explaining things. Like, the book that I'm
Mhm.
writing, there was a line where someone refers to someone, call me your government name, my government name. And
Yeah.
my editor was like, well, people know what that means. And I go,
Yeah.
yeah. And because we know what that means, and I
Yes.
don't feel the need. So I put on threads, does everyone know what that means? And 85% of 95% of black people and 70% of white people were like, yeah, I know what that means. And somebody was like, well, if you don't explain it, probably just black people will read your book and you won't have an audience.
Oh,
I was like,
well,
that's a risk I'm willing to take. I was
yes.
like, I too read books that are not targeted towards me, and I
All
know
the
how
time.
Google works.
Correct. You know how many times like I read books and they don't translate languages at all, and I'm just like,
Right.
well, that's what I got this Kindle for. I can hit that translation button real quick or look it up on Google.
If it's important to you, you will look it up. And if it's not important to you, you're telling me that it's not important enough to you, look it up, and I don't have to worry about you.
Accurate. So you came back to Baltimore.
I
Let's
did.
keep it on Baltimore. You came back to Baltimore in 2020. Now you write. Baltimore stories for the banner.
Mhm,
Did
mhm, mhm.
returning home unlock something for you for this book?
It really did, and that part of the Dawn part that is me is the returning home.
Right.
Um, I came home in 2020 when everything was crazy. Um, we took my mother and I were, and who was my co-parent, and my son and I, who was 6 at the time, were living in West Palm Beach. Things were not going great at the newspaper that I was working for, the Palm Beach
Mhm.
Post. They had a bunch of layoffs. We had a furlough for a couple months, like every week, once 1 week a month for 3 months. We were unpaid on furlough, and I was like, I can't do this. My book came out, Black Widow came out literally a week before lockdown and did not do as well as I'd hoped
Mhm.
because I was supposed to be on the Today Show. I was supposed to be on all these things. Everything got
Oh,
canceled like at once. I was like, this isn't great.
wow.
So my mother was dating the man who is now her husband, who they
Oh.
had gone to Fairmont Heights High School with my dad in Prince George's County, went to Morgan. She and Mr. Larry broke up. She dated my dad, married him. My dad died in 2012. She and Mr. Larry got back together. They were seeing each other long distance because she was living with me. And so she was ready to go home. My grandmother, who's now no longer with us, was still hanging out in PG County. I'm sorry, I have to correct myself because of my cousin Angela also Brooks. Prince George's County. I'm not supposed to say PG. Um, you
I
know,
say PG all the
shout out Angie. Um,
time.
my mother wanted to come home, and it was just we were home for 6 months before I hugged anybody. Because everyone was still masked, and there was
Yeah,
no.
it was a rough time.
It was really rough, but I felt like the banner didn't exist yet, and I worked at a PR thing for 6 months, and it was not good at it. I quit, and then I freelanced for a while, including for the Washington Post. So at the time the banner reached out to me in February 2022, I felt I had been back in Baltimore just long enough to write about Baltimore again. I felt like I had dipped my toe back in enough, and I was still learning some things, learning like the places to go and who was where and what was going on. And
Because you
so
have to reacclimate yourself. As someone who also moved back
mhm,
from
mhm.
DC to here,
Yes.
and like as an adult, because we grew up here, but like being an
Yes.
adult here is so different. And you know how us Baltimoreans are. We don't let you know the spots. You got to be in community before you know the
You got to
real.
be in community. You got to talk to people. They go, "Oh, look at you." Okay, great. So where did you grow up in Baltimore?
I grew up in Gwyn Oak,
Okay.
so
Okay.
I went to Emerson Heights Elementary.
Oh, excellent.
And then middle, I went to St. Agnes on Route 40. They don't exist anymore.
Yeah, I remember.
NCQ, which doesn't exist anymore because,
Yeah,
archdiocese.
I know.
But my mom and my grandmother, well, my grandmother's house was on Montpelier.
Okay.
So I would spend almost every other day over there. So I was like a, a, a suburb in a city kid at the
There
same
you
time.
go. I grew up in Northwood, near
Yeah.
Morgan. So
Oh,
between
perfect.
Hillen on Sunwood Road, between Hillen and the Dawn in the book lives in my house. I
I
wrote
was wondering, I
about
was looking, I was like, because I
I
saw
wrote
the
about
Morgan influences, and I was like, okay,
yes.
I know where this is.
Yeah, my parents went to Morgan. I wrote about Morgan. Morgan was too close. It was literally like a 15-minute.
Listen, that's we understand each other. That's why I went. Because my mama would have had me living at home if I went
I
to
know.
Towson or Morgan. I'm not doing that.
Mm-mm.
I'm
Nope.
getting out of here. But my
It was
fiance ended up going there for his PhD.
oh, that's
So it all
funny.
comes full circle in the end.
That's awesome.
I love that. I love that. Um, I want to talk about there's this idea that's heavy to me in the book and ever present about leaving,
Mhm.
just physically being gone.
Mhm.
Seize the ground for people to write their own story about you. Dawn left Baltimore, left
Yes.
her family, and in her absence, everyone made their assumptions.
Absolutely.
Do you think Dawn understood what she was doing when she left?
Absolutely not. You make decisions. She, and those even read the book, she makes a very pivotal decision in her early 20s to just up and leave. She's fallen in love with this guy she shouldn't be falling in love with. She's betrayed by a friend who has stolen a story from her, and she knows that she's probably screwed at work. And she's like, let's do a crazy early 90s romantic comedy thing and just leave. And she leaves her sister, who is the whistleblower on the story that she is writing about that has now been stolen from her, leaves her in a lurch, doesn't tell anybody, leaves her lease just like up and goes. And because it's easier than explaining your way out of the mistakes that you've made.
Mhm.
And yes, it does.
Mm.
I understand now. You understand when you're 12, if you leave the room and there's three of your friends over here in the room, they can say anything about you that they want to, right?
Correct.
And so it's writ larger when you're older, and so
Mhm.
you kind of figure, that's one of the themes of movie, the book to me is that, because it should be a movie. The book to me is
It would be a
that
good movie or limited series.
it would be so fun, that you've got your version of the truth
Mhm.
and everyone else's version of the truth, and all of them are probably right. But if you've convinced yourself for however many years because you didn't have anybody else's voice in your ear,
Mhm.
your version is not going to seem as familiar when you come back and you try to sell it to the people that you left, particularly because they've
Mhm.
all had years to, compare notes and write their version. And no, she doesn't understand it. And she comes back kind of expecting people to see her side because she's written herself as the person who did what I had to do for love. And they were like, nah, it worked for us.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's aging is interesting. And the stories that you tell yourself about your life, you have to be prepared to defend them when you come
Whew.
back,
Woof. That's a
you know?
that's a word. That's a
Yes,
word in the ministry.
it's
I'm
true.
learning that more and more and more, and I'm
Uh,
understanding more about my parents as well as
yeah.
grandparents and
Because
the
they're people, they're humans who made decisions about things. And
family.
the best thing that has ever happened to me is that I got the chance, and so many of them are gone now, to get to know people and talk to them as humans and say, like, my grandmother who died in 2024, 2023, um, talking to her about like her marriage, which ended when I was very young, and to talk to her. My sister said that she was listening to, um, gosh, it was Sheryl Crow, I think, had done a live version of the Fifth Dimension's One Less Bell to Answer. One less bell to answer. My grandmother is listening with my sister. She goes, "That reminds me of my marriage." My sister's like, "What?" Because it's just a very personal thing. My
It's
grandmother
like,
was not
like
what? She
Granny,
was
what?
not that person, but she understood without her having to elaborate on anything else about
Mhm.
what it's like to be in a long-term marriage, and then you think you should be happy because this person is gone, it's less work for you, but all I do is cry. Yeah,
Mhm.
so
I love that.
God, it's so great. So like having these conversations with people, to your family, about what these things meant to them and what these songs meant to them and what this car meant to them and what this movie meant to them and what this book meant to them is such a gift.
Yeah,
And it's
it
something,
really
all
is.
y'all listen, talk to your elders because they're not going to be around forever.
They're not.
I know it
I
sucks.
It does suck. It really does. And I want to talk about oof. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about Joe.
Ugh, Joe.
I know. Oh, Joe.
Freaking Joe.
So he's probably one of the most charming
Yes,
characters, right?
he is.
And this is a good question to sit with. Like, why should
Mhm.
charm carry so much weight in journalism and in any professional space? Dawn got outmaneuvered partly because
Yes,
she
she did.
underestimated Joe's likability
Absolutely. Oh,
and would
wow.
protect him. And is that a critique of people, a critique of the industry, or both?
It's both. I think, and she refers to him as like Evil Morris Chestnut and,
Yeah, I was
all
like,
these things. And so you understand that this is a very smooth black man. This is a
mhm,
very charming, deep voice, good looking. And even though they're not romantically linked, he's charming. I
yes,
think charm has a lot to do with whether or not you are successful in journalism and other things, because people have to trust you. They look you in the eye and say, I'm going
mhm,
to tell you a thing I probably shouldn't tell you. I'm
right.
going to tell you a thing that could risk my job. I'm going to tell you a thing that could risk my status. And being able to charm, I'm charming, but I'm like, Susie Cream Cheese. Uh, I was never like that kind of hot, but I knew a lot of guys who were like that. of any race because they were just like smile at you and
Mm-hmm.
they charmed the old ladies, they charmed the young ladies, they charmed the dudes. It was what it was. And you either wanted to be with them or be them. And there was very much that exists because that whatever you have to do to let people in to have people let you in the room is what you have to do. And
Mm-hmm.
he makes some wrong choices because it becomes harder for him than he thought. So he has to tell a little lie, do a little thing, steal a little story, a big story, but then you're able to talk people into it. You're able to be like, hey, you know, and I think unfortunately for a lot of people, particularly well, it works in print where Joe starts out, but also he goes
Yeah.
into broadcast. If you can sit with someone with a camera and make them feel comfortable and make them feel like you're the only person in the room and you're talking directly to them, and that
Yep.
translates into what's on off the screen and people who are watching you behind the screen, all of that feels very comforting, and it feels, and then I've had people, call me and go, I can't believe I told you that.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, huh? Because I'm not trying to, yeah, I'd rather you tell me because it's good for my
Right.
story. But I've never tried to trick anybody or,
Mm-hmm.
but there are times where you go, I really hope she keeps talking. I really hope they keep talking. And I've had people who were like, can you delete that? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times where you have to make that concession if they've
Mm.
really thought about, okay, I really could lose my job and they have to go back to my editor and then try
Right.
to figure something else out. But um, Joe is a person who is not used to being told no
Mm-hmm.
in any part of his life.
Hmm. So that's interesting because Joe's not used to being told no.
Mhm.
Um, However, Dawn believes like what he did to her was the worst thing ever. And so throughout the book, she's struggling with her own morality. Um,
Yes.
but what she doesn't realize is the cost.
No. No.
Is so especially how uncovering the truth can hurt people. Like you just said,
Yes.
charm, letting people in the room. She also did. She used her
Absolutely.
trust to get
Yes.
something, and now she uncovered the truth. And this exposes that journalism isn't always clean.
No.
How can you be right and still cause damage? Did you want to sit in that discomfort and like really reckon with that question
That is
throughout the
very,
novel?
I did because, the in the story, for those of you who hadn't read it, Dawn's sister knows something that's happening bad in Baltimore city government, and she tells
Mhm.
her, and she's hoping that she'll let her write about it, and she goes fine. And so she's not really thinking about how this could affect her sister, how this could affect her sister's boyfriend, who is involved but who goes to
Mhm.
jail for a while. She's only thinking about the story.
Ridiculous.
Oh, Percy. She's
Oh,
only
Percy.
thinking about herself and she gets
Mhm.
carried away. So then it gets taken away from her, but there's still a fallout. And she's not there to mute it. She's not there to say, all right, who can we protect? Can I write something else? What can we do? Whatever. And she just splits and
Mhm.
leaves this fallout for her sister and her sister's boyfriend and the city government and everyone to kind of sit with and to deal with. And she's literally on a plane out of here. And
Mhm.
there there always is a cost to
Mhm.
those stories. There's always a cost, even when done with the best intentions. Someone's gonna lose their job, someone's gonna go to jail, someone's gonna maybe, something's gonna happen. And when
Yeah.
you tell stories, there's collateral damage, which is what
Yes.
it becomes and what her sister becomes and what her sister's boyfriend, and he's guilty, but
Yeah.
not as guilty as some other people. And
Yes.
so there is very much a Dawn believes that she should be absolved by just leaving, and it's not her hands are not clean. Even though
Mhm.
she's right, her
Mhm.
hands are not clean in that.
So why so in the book, I found it interesting who
Okay.
ultimately holds Dawn accountable and brings her to her own awareness of the situation and messes she left in cause and left behind is Bria James. So Bria is the one who holds Dawn accountable most directly, telling her she can't
Yes.
be a boss and then helpless damsel at the same time. You can't be both. Pick a struggle.
Pick a struggle. Yes.
Um, did you always know that Bria was gonna be the one
I,
to do that?
what's so funny is Bria was originally Brian. Bria was originally a dude,
Okay.
and my editor said, "Hey, listen, I feel like there should be a younger woman in this." And I
Mm-hmm.
went, "Okay." So it was a challenge for me to change her. But when once I realized that Bria was actually a woman, it made sense to me that she as a young woman could speak to Dawn
Mm-hmm.
about who Dawn thought she was versus who she actually was, because she could see
Hmm.
herself. Younger people have a real way of like cutting through the fat and just telling you about yourself,
Yes,
whether you
often.
want to hear it or not.
Go ahead.
And she's like, she's a younger journalist and
Mm-hmm.
she's got a different path. There are not as many places to work or things to do. It's a much harsher landscape for young journalists than it was when I was coming up in the 90s and when Dawn was coming up in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And so for her to be like, listen, not for nothing, you want to talk truth, let's talk truth.
All right.
And that made so much sense to me because I have some younger um, female reporters that I mentee,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll just ask they're not meaning to be rude, they just ask
Yeah.
a question. You're like, ah, dang it. I
Yeah.
just did something I didn't realize. But yeah, Bria was a really good thing for me, a really good person for me to explore, because I had to
Mm-hmm.
explore some of my biases about
Mm.
the business and where it is now and younger people in general. Once again, I found like, get off my lawn, off my lawn with my
I know. I'm
cane.
getting there too. I'm like, dang.
But no, she was really important to me, and I thought that, and I let some younger people the age of that character read it, and she felt real to them. And I was like, good, because I don't want to, when people write, sometimes when you write a younger character or an older
Mhm.
character, and they seem very stilted and they seem like you've never actually met a younger or older person.
Yes.
I wanted to make sure that wasn't the case with her.
No, you did a very, very good job. It felt
Thank you.
um like a rebirth in a way, and like
Yeah.
justice is being served because Dom was treated so poorly, and then
Hmm.
now
Hmm.
she gets to redeem herself.
She gets to redeem herself. Yes.
I love that. I love that. So let's talk about upcoming projects. So
Yes.
what's next?
My next novel, they're doing it again, coming out in October, I believe, also from Lake Union Press,
Hmm.
is Lake Union Publishing, is called Chicory Coffee. And it's about a group of women from Baltimore, ages
Hmm.
16 to their 70s, who go to New Orleans per the direction of their grandmother who has died. And if they do not take this trip and uncover some truths, nobody gets any money.
Oh, I love that because nobody's gonna go if no
You know,
money's involved. Yeah, I love
right? And
that.
New Orleans is just
No,
such a
it's the
special
best.
place.
Oh, gosh, it's like one of those. It's like one of my favorite cities in the world.
It reminds me of Baltimore in that it's
Yes.
very black. It's very, people come and think they see what they see on the surface, but there's so much more
Mm-hmm.
to it. The first time I went, I was in my 30s, about your age. I went on a bachelorette trip with a friend. The second time I went was on like a foodie trip in
Mm-hmm.
my mid 40s ish, with a good friend. I went last summer. I went twice. I went with my son and one of my best friends and her husband. We took the train down, which is a long trip. It
Mm-hmm.
was really fun. And we did like the aquarium, the swamp tour, and all that stuff. And then I went with my other best friend in October, and we did all the other stuff. Found a second line, and we went to the Whitney Plantation.
Oh,
Um,
I was gonna say that. Oh my, the best and most beautiful sight that anybody will ever see. Like,
it's
my
it
God.
it was so important, and the characters in the book at one point go, and like us, they took a tour, but we took this tour bus, and it took us, from downtown.
Mhm.
to the plantation, and there's another plantation called Oak Alley, which is much more the Gone with the Wind, antebellum fantasy. It's all pretty and whatever. And so we glared at the people when they got back on the bus. We're like, hmm,
Not y'all having a whole thing on a death camp.
Kiki and a death camp. So my favorite story of like the last couple years was when the other plantation burned down.
Yes, I knew that's where you were going. I was like, "Yeah, ancestors, let's go!"
And it
And
stopped burning, and then it burned again. The answer's
burn
like, oh,
again.
no, no, no.
Oh, yeah. And at that time, I just read Blood Slaves by Marcus Redmond. And I was like,
Mm-mm.
yes, burn it down.
Burn it all. Oh, we're just going to have a wedding here. No, you're not.
No, you're not. No, you're not. I hope Tales
Yes.
of the Crypt come and bite you.
Come
Uh,
and bite you.
bite
Yes. So don't do that,
uh,
y'all. Don't get married on a death camp. Don't just
don't
stop
do it.
taking your
It's
prom
ugly.
pictures
It's
there.
icky.
It's stupid. Stop
It's
it.
icky. It's icky.
It's so icky.
But where can the people find you?
They can find me everywhere. I am at baltimorebanner.com or thebanner.com, depending on what you're looking. I am at lesliegraystreeter.com, which I need to update. I'm Leslie Gray Streeter on almost all of your socials, Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram. I quit TikTok
That's fair.
because, I didn't want to sign their new whatever policy thing. I'm also because I'm old, I'm on the Facebooks. Um, and basically, you just like Google me and I pop up. Leslie
I
Gray
love
Streeter
that.
everywhere. Yes.
So before we head out, rapid fire questions.
Ooh, let's do it.
Dawn's most redeeming moment in the book.
Ooh, I think when she um talks to her sister, even though her sister doesn't immediately get it, and it explains that she's gone behind her back again and talked to her ex-boyfriend, and she really is trying. She's in that basement when everybody comes downstairs and is like, yelling at her through the door, and she's trying to make it right because she understands it's not just about getting her way; it's about making it right.
Mhm. I love that. Joe's worst moment.
All of them? No. I think lying to her and telling her that his mother is sick when really he's in process of stealing her story,
Mhm.
and also making her look stupid in front of his girlfriend she doesn't like.
Mhm. That
Vanessa, yes.
that's the one. The scene that was the hardest to write.
Anything involving Dale, because
Mhm.
Dale is like a stand-in for my late husband Scott. So even though he is not, he did not look like that. I describe Dale as looking kind of like a young Ethan Hawke.
Mhm.
My husband, when he was in high school, kind of looked like a Beastie Boy. Completely different. Then he looked like, I used to say he looked like Sexy Gru because he was bald. I was like, look at you looking like Sexy Gru. And he's like, I don't like that. I'm like, but you look at you with the bald head. All you need is an accent. Be evil, steal the moon. Anyway, so look at you stealing the moon. Uh, it's true. Um, those things were hard to write just because I had to go, oh, widow stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I wrote them, and I'm glad Dale is not Scott, but the missing is real.
Mm. Christian Serrano deserves his flowers. Agree or disagree?
All of the flowers. This man, first of all, Balmer School for the Arts graduate,
Yes.
Christian Siriano makes clothes. When he did that dress for Leslie Jones years ago, when she was like, no one will dress me. I'm too tall, I'm too big, I'm too black, no one's gonna dress me. And he
Mhm.
said, what do you need, queen? And from then on, he's gone on to dress so many people, but she
Beautiful.
remains his muse. And he's this little dude from Annapolis, right?
Yeah.
Who
It's
has who
crazy.
it's crazy. He had a platform, and he reached out. First of all, it's not just good marketing, it's good energy to
Mhm.
say he saw my brand will only be enriched by working with you. Not
Mhm.
my it will damage my brand. Not I'm
Right.
doing you a favor. It's like I want to be the kind of brand that takes a Leslie Jones and makes her look more beautiful than she ever looked in her life. And
Right.
so yes, all the flowers, all the
All the
flowers.
flowers. He deserves them. Janet Jackson song that best describes this book. Go.
Ooh, what have you done for me lately?
Girl.
Um, again, which is my
Okay.
favorite, which is my favorite. That's the whole regretting and people being inevitable part. Um, Control.
Period. Oh my gosh. Well, y'all, Leslie Gray Streeter's Families and Other Calamities is available now. Read it, then call your sister or don't. But at least understand why you haven't.
Right.
And then go read Black Widow because she's been doing this for a long time and it shows.
Thank
And I
you.
would love to thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this so much. Thank you so much for having me. Hope to do it again when the next one comes out.
Yes, and I cannot wait. And with that, y'all, that's another episode of dot dot dot. But make it books. Keep healing, but always stay literature. You like what I did there?
Love
All
that.
right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.